Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're talking about volume 15 of A Bride's Story. This one starts with Henry and Talas traveling by ship from Bombay to England. Chupar made a friend with the ship's cat. Once Henry and Talas reached Henry's family in England, they told him about their engagement, and Henry's mother in particular took the news especially poorly. When his mother wouldn't allow Talas in any of their homes, Henry and Talas were luckily instead offered to stay in a quote unquote small hunting lodge that belongs to Hawkins' family. Talas starts raising sheep there, and we got a chapter in which Talas's mother-in-law back home learns the truth about Talas and that she's alive and well. We also check in briefly with Nikolovsky, who is ready to settle down with his family in his new mansion in Ankara. Ali came back home to his hometown where he finally fulfilled his dream of getting married, and the volume concludes with Henry and Talas on their way to Scotland, where they intend to be wed. So yeah, a lot of England in this volume. So that was a
Yeah,
fun change of pace.
absolutely. And maybe some things that we thought were going to happen did happen, and I think some things were a bit surprising. I'll say off the bat that I felt Talas took the new scenery and a new custom. I mean, she's not like completely changing her lifestyle to match it, but it feels like she adapted pretty quickly or pretty well.
Yeah.
It didn't seem too overwhelming, at least at the moment. Uh, Honestly, and I kind of was thinking this would happen, but the family reception of her was, you know, maybe not shocking because I did think something would happen, but well, we'll go into it. We'll go into it.
Yeah, no, but still, there are obstacles for sure there.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's dive into these character discussions, and I'd like to start with Henry Smith. So there was a part when they were on the ship from Bombay to England, and they like Henry and Talas just got this room with the one bed, and Henry kind of freaked out a little bit over that. Uh, and it's all in character, and I love him the way he is and everything. But I just kind of, I don't know. It got me thinking that while I love Henry and Talas's relationship, it's been very fun seeing how it's been, yeah, basically what it's been like throughout the story up until now. I kind of feel like it's not that romantic. Like, I don't know. They clearly have a very deep care for one another, but I don't feel like we've ever really seen them be romantic with one another properly. Um,
Mm,
and maybe it's because they're waiting for marriage, and maybe their love will fully blossom once that's been done. I hope so.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I just something I don't think I'd really thought of before was that we just haven't really seen any like explicit, I guess, proclamations of love between them.
Well, as Henry puts it, when it comes to defying expectations, this is hardly the first time. So, defying the
Yeah,
expectations of romance, you know.
true. That's a good point.
No, I think it has to do with both of their comfort levels.
Hmm.
I think in general Henry is a little awkward when it comes to romance and things of that nature. Uh, but let's not forget the chapter where he basically asked for her hand in marriage.
Yeah.
Um, that was pretty romantic in that I want you to be here with me at all times. And obviously
Hmm.
Talas, everything that she did was a very romantic gesture in getting to Ankara and eventually finding Henry.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. One other thing I'll throw in there is that on Talas's side of things, that sort of you know skinship, or maybe that's not the right terms, but being very close to somebody
Hmm.
may not be within her culture but also may just be something that you wait until after you're wed, and then maybe it's something that you show more, I guess, familiarity with the person and affection
Hmm.
in that way. But you do make a good point.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a possibility, and maybe even from both of their sides. I mean, because assuming now, I don't know for sure, but if we assume that Henry is a Christian, then I suppose he might also want to wait until after marriage for certain physical uh, activities. And I'm not saying I want to see them have sex. Like I don't. That's not what
Amorous
I'm asking
Congress.
for. Yeah, I just, I don't know. A little bit of more. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, they're not even really holding hands. I mean, they.
Precisely. Have they ever kissed?
I don't think so.
You're right.
Not that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Although I feel that would be after marriage.
That's fair. But actually, speaking of their different cultures and kind of similarities and differences there, because something that became clearer to me, I think, seeing the story being set in England more thoroughly in this volume, it's interesting to see how the norms around marriage are not necessarily all that different for Henry compared to I mean obviously it is different, but compared to like in Central Asia at the time. Um
Hmm.
because not only this is like obviously in England, what's like 150 years ago or so. So it's a long time ago.
Hmm.
It was a bit more conservative. It was also it's also like he's from like a semi upper class. Like it's not necessarily like he's not a noble class, but they obviously are wealthy and have I think
Yeah.
with that wealth comes certain I think a sense of responsibility for them to marry others that are wealthy or whatever to keep up that image. And
Hmm.
so they are also restricted and very kind of, even though not in the same way, but also kind of dependent on their families when it comes to marrying and various things like that. So yeah, obviously not the same, but I kind of realized that they are at least more similar culture wise than I had kind of thought of before, and especially from my like modern Western perspective, they both appear, I guess, less free than what I'm used to, obviously, in present day
Yeah.
Sweden.
I think marrying for love, a way to put it, is something that would have happened during this time period in England, and probably more often than arranged marriage. But I'm not an expert or historian. But for sure, those trying to keep face would also try to work around arranged marriages, and it would probably usually be, hey, how about your daughter marries my son? You know, they get to a good age and they can start dating or something. It's kind of more arranged in that way, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, all right, well, I have another friend who has a kid. Let's just try that. Um,
Yeah.
and it feels like it seems like in Central Asia, it's much more agreement or I guess it is a handshake. I was about to say a signed document. They don't sign anything. It's a handshake agreement. It's like, hey, you marry my daughter and whatever. So
Hmm.
that one, it feels like there's less, or I should say there's more restriction or more rules to follow in that sense, and it's very uncommon for people to marry outside of those kind of arrangements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, at the very least, based on what we've been taught through this manga, and in my
yeah,
experience, it's most of what I have. I don't know too much about these cultures outside of a Bride's story, to be fair. But yeah,
yeah,
but also like I trust Mori relatively much. Like I feel like she does her research pretty thoroughly and yeah. But at the same time, I understand that this is not like 1-to-1 probably, but it's still
sure,
I understand that it is probably based on the real stuff and probably she does a good job.
yeah. I guess speaking on that, going into this volume or the anticipation of Talas being introduced to Henry's family, I thought that the father would be the one to really be against
Mm.
Henry marrying someone from that part of the world. And he, yeah, he it was less more of anger and more so it's like really exasperation.
Yeah.
um it's like, why must you cause me so much headache? I love you though. uh
Yeah, he was pretty sweet.
yeah, in his own way, and he said he
Uh-huh.
would never cut him off, cut ties with him. And I
Hmm.
was not expecting that because he was kind of painted or set up as this very business oriented, you know, stickler. I don't want to make him mad. At least that's the feeling I got when we never saw his character
Yeah.
before this, but we knew of him, and the people were like, or the family was wondering, oh, how is he going to take it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kind of surprised in that sense that the father was somewhat, you know, okay with it.
Uh-huh.
It's the mom that I did not expect to be, or at least I didn't expect, but I should have expected that she was very much against Henry marrying a foreign woman.
Mm.
But I think that's kind of accurate to that time frame, and frankly, much of modern history is kind of like that as well. Still, it's gotten a lot better, of course, in the past 100 years, I'd say,
Hmm.
but that time for sure. I mean, people outside of their own culture were viewed as barbarians,
Yeah.
or people who were inferior. So Jews
Right.
definitely had some racist. Uh, she had a racist mindset, but
Definitely.
yeah, in terms of accuracy, though, I feel that was pretty spot on.
Definitely. And like she wasn't the only one that we saw having certain racist tendencies. Also some of the workers at the family house uh seemed somewhat like that. And it's understandable as you were saying with given the times and whatnot. That was unfortunately more common back then, especially for it to be outspoken like that.
Right.
And but also I feel like, and the book did kind of make a point out of this, for it to be the mother specifically to have an extra, like especially much of an issue with it, because she, as the mother, will or would at least ideally form some kind of bond with her daughter-in-law, and supposedly, I suppose this mother, maybe she'd had a dream of like her sons getting, wives that she would get along with, and she had this dream or this kind of idyllic imagination of what it would be like, and now he brings home a barbarian in her head. And
Her words, not mine.
that doesn't match, yeah, that doesn't match her dream of what it would be like, and so she's upset. I don't know, I'm kind of reading her a little bit that way.
I think that's fair. It's also the public face side of it. What will the people say um,
Yeah.
about that? Yeah, it's sad eh, to see Talas not be welcomed with open arms. Um, and I'm
Mm.
not sure if the mother will ever do it. And I think people can be pretty stubborn, but it would be a very, very fun resolution if Talas and her new mother-in-law, but I mean, if the marriage goes as planned,
Yeah.
um, were to have some sort of reconciliation, or well, really just get to know each other and become uh, well acquainted.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. I also kind of read like Henry's relationship to his mother. I read kind of generally as that he, or at least whenever she gets difficult, he often kind of tries to take her with a grain of salt. Kind of most of the time, I got the impression that that was kind of how it was. But toward the end, kind of their scene that they had one on one, when his
Mm-hmm.
mother kind of insulted Talas very much clearer than she had before. And
Yeah.
just before they knocked on the door, Henry did start to raise his voice, and he did definitely get upset there. Um, which I respect him for. First of all, like I think it's definitely, and
Yeah.
I mean it's very understandable, and he should tell her off when in that kind of an instance. But it seemed like most of the time he's just kind of not trying to be bothered by her.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the phrase "you can't choose your parents," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he hates his parents, but being upper class and having to go to balls and just try to be a public figure, that's just not his interests,
Yeah.
not the kind of life he really wants to live. Now, I don't think he could probably I don't think he would necessarily have the life that he has now if he didn't have a wealthy background,
Oh, for
to
sure.
be honest.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's hard to think he would ever be in this situation to begin with. But
Mm-hmm.
um, needless to say, he's not all for the high class, the bureaucracy of it all.
Mm.
That said, I I do think he cares for his parents and was trying to reason with his mother. But yeah, as soon as she called or accused Talas of potentially bringing a plague, I
Yeah.
mean that's when it that's when the restraints snapped, and I think yeah he was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was gonna do anything serious. He was just gonna really talk, raise his voice and put his foot
Yeah.
down. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah, and maybe that's for the best. I mean, and because I wonder if perhaps Hawkins, I don't know, like the seeds that he planted there when he came in and kind of seemingly agreed with the mother, and like if that whatever trust he started to kind of establish with her there, if it's gonna pay off later, and to like a happy resolution between the mother and Talas. I obviously hope so.
Yeah, I mean that could have been the start of a decades long fight between the two. I mean,
Yeah.
tensions are not very good right now, but if Henry had gone off, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure she would have snapped back and could have been
Yeah.
disastrous.
It really could have. Huh. But anything more there?
I like what the dad said. I thank God you aren't my firstborn. And Henry's, I feel the same way.
Yeah, I love that.
I when I first read that, I was like, oh wow, that's kind of harsh. But then you keep reading, it's like, well, maybe this is just their relationship, but it's not necessarily bad. They're kind of both like, yeah, I'm, sorry that it has to be this way, son. I know you're a free spirit. I know you'd rather be doing this other things. It
Hmm.
pains me that you have to be in this yeah circumstance. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So as the volume went on, I really changed my opinion on his dad, and I
Uh-huh.
hope somehow the dad is able to speak reason to his wife.
Yeah.
It seems like he has a hands off approach when it comes to most of the household. So maybe that's wishful thinking that he would
Yeah.
speak reason to her, but I don't know. He seems like a reasonable guy at this point, and maybe that could have an effect on his wife.
Maybe him and Hawkins in his own way could be helpful.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
I
yeah.
would think Hawkins have to be there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think Henry does count himself lucky in a way that he was born second instead of first.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Very well. That's all there.
Yeah,
Then let's talk a bit about Talas next. We already started touching a little bit about how, yeah, she seems to be settling in pretty well. I especially loved her realization that the kitchen is really not that different from the kitchens that she's used to. It just kind of looks a bit different, but practically it's more or less the same. So that was pretty nice, and
Yeah.
and she seems to have also done a pretty good job with the cooking for her first time using English tools and English ingredients. She just wished there was more spices.
Love that subtle slap in the face, but
Yeah. Uh,
yeah, I agree. I really like that the her realization in the kitchen. I can't personally say that I felt similarly when I went to, for example, a Japanese kitchen.
mm-hmm.
It did feel foreign in some ways,
uh,
but I guess you have a stove, you have a sink, I guess you have pots and pans. So in that way, yeah, it can
yeah,
be pretty similar, but maybe there's less difference in because of the time period as well. Maybe that um,
perhaps, yeah.
has a hand in it.
Mm,
But anyway, I think that leads to a broader point of mine is she's able to find the familiarity in a foreign place. She finds the sheep, and they're similar, not the same breed, but similar to the sheep she has back home.
mm,
She the kitchen that's one thing, and then she mentions the mother holds the most of the power in the household.
yeah,
That was similarity. Love of horses, I think, is one that maybe she compares. Although I think Mori mentions in the afterwards that it's a little different in how the Middle East views horses versus um,
yeah.
maybe Europe at the time, or well, England specifically at the time.
Mm,
But yeah, so there's these various things that she's able to find common ground. Uh, and yeah, I'm just kind of impressed that she hasn't seemed really overwhelmed at all. So that's really nice.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Ultimately, we didn't get too much of her, I guess, perspective in this volume. Like, there definitely was some, but as a whole, there wasn't too much. I think there was less than I had expected there would be. Um,
Yeah,
so I'm hoping the next volume or the future in general will give us a bit more of her perspective on and just kind of her views on it all. Because I just feel like I need a bit more from her.
yeah. Now, are you wanting her to point out the differences more?
I think, yeah, that would be nice. I mean, maybe just in general, but that's one thing that I think definitely would be interesting because it's not as interesting to find out, or well, it is interesting to find out what's similar, but I think it's also interesting to find out what's different. So to have a little bit of both, which I'm sure there ought to be things that are different and things that are similar. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I think I want a healthy mix.
Yeah, I agree. I, going into this England adventure, I had expected there to be more comparisons, and maybe not the similarities, but the differences. And so I thought that maybe Talas would be the viewpoint for that, but we really haven't got in that. Although I say that, but it's just not as prevalent, or she's not just up and saying, "Wow, that's weird." She's it's more so in her actions in some cases, or
Mm,
when someone asks her, "Hey, are you okay? Is everything good?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm good." Well,
exactly.
I would like to ride a horse, and so she rides the horse in Scotland.
Hmm.
Um, that's just one example. So yeah, maybe we'll see more of it, but I think part of it is that she's just kind of, and maybe this is not the most romantic thing to say. She's just kind of there for the ride. Just how whatever happens is good by her. As long as Henry's there, and there's probably some
Yeah,
truth to that.
I think
Um,
definitely there is.
mhm.
Um, and I think, well, speaking of, I think because we know that she's very content just being around Henry, and that is romantic and that's lovely. Um, but I think something else that I'd like, I guess, her thoughts on, her takes on in general, is I guess just in general being so far away from home, not necessarily connected to the surroundings and what they look like and what the customs and whatnot, but more just being so far away from home in general. Um,
You
I
want her to
feel like
be
it,
homesick more?
perhaps yeah, stuff like that, or at the very least understand more of what types of thoughts she has about that. Um, I think
Mm,
I would like.
okay. You know, when you put it that way, I don't know if that's what Talos would do or Talas would do. You know, I don't think she's going to be either yearning or really comparing to what life was before. You know, like
Hmm?
I think she's completely accepted where she is and is willing to put down roots here as long as Henry's there, you know?
Absolutely.
I just don't think she's a character to really give us that kind of perspective, you know?
I think I think Henry could help her give us that perspective if he would like
Mm.
ask her questions about it, and then she would tell
Mm-hmm.
him, like she would assure him that no, it's all good, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I just like some kind of something on that.
Well,
But
I guess real quick, you mentioned Henry and her talking. I
yeah,
would like to see more of their conversations.
yes, for
Um,
sure.
we got a bit of it when they were first eating in the house, but I would like more talk
Definitely.
and show them being comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
Because while Talas loves Henry very much, she just seems still very reserved and almost uncomfortable in some ways.
Mm.
Even though we were just talking about her being uh, finding, you know, or adapting well to her surroundings, it just feels like she's not completely opening up to Henry yet. So maybe that would take time, but
Hmm.
I would like to see where it feels like this is the true Talas, and
Yeah.
she can completely be herself.
Right. I feel like we get that especially when she's with the animals, with her horse and with the
Yeah,
sheep in this volume. We definitely get like her
that's
in her
fair.
essence kind of. But I would also like to see more of her conversations with Henry also because really he's the only one that she can talk to.
True.
Um she
This is
can't
true.
really speak with anybody else in
Yeah.
this region.
Oh, okay. I'll
Uh-huh.
save that for predictions.
Okay, exciting. Well, anything else on Talas for now?
This country is where this man was raised, so it can't be a bad place. I like that. I mean, maybe it's a little naive, but
Yeah,
also, I think a lot of places that we may have not great feelings or thoughts about, uh, good people can come from that. So, you know,
absolutely. Hmm.
I, not to say that Talas ever had bad thoughts about England, but the situation she was put into with the family and not so great vibes there
Mm.
maybe would have given somebody not great impression. But
Oh yeah,
she loves Henry so much that so a place like this can't be that bad.
that is nice.
That's it.
All right, then next I'd like to talk about Ali. He instantly got popular once he came home with a supposed fortune made. And there's this girl Madina, or however that's supposed to be pronounced. I think we can also touch on her under Ali's section. Um, she's someone who appears to have some kind of past with Ali, or well, they've known each other since they were little at the very least. And she has liked him for some time. It also seems like, but she got very frustrated when everyone seemed everybody started treating Ali differently just because he had money and she didn't want to, I guess, seem like them because she actually likes him. And I don't know. I thought that was
Yeah.
a little pretty cute little struggle that she went through, and she
Yeah.
didn't want to seem like she was interested just because of the money. Because she actually had a genuine interest.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really like that. She wanted to marry him uh for feelings, not for the money.
Yeah.
And it was not something that I had really thought about. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the times these marriages that Mori has brought up were, part of well, besides like the characters that that we get that we meet that end up getting married, things like usually there's like some romantic stuff, right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of the bread and butter of the bride story. But a lot of the marriages that are happening around it are really focused on the money and the making sure you have proper inheritance and take care of the
Hmm.
family and things like that. Um, so it was kind of nice to see someone kind of go against the grain in that. No, I'm not marry. I don't want to marry him because he's rich. I want to marry because I think he's hot. No, I want to marry him because I I've always loved him. Uh, and yeah, I'm always gonna root for the childhood friend today. Like it's just kind of hits a box for me that I like.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, no, it was very funny. And like she specifically didn't want to marry Rich, and then she accidentally did married Rich. uh but yeah, and so it was interesting. I thought because it was pretty clear in the chapters that yeah, she has feelings for him. She likes him. But from Ali's side of it, he just said that he thinks they'll get along pretty well. And they were like, yeah, okay, this is convenient. This is simple for me. We'll get along. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
The afterword did clarify it a little bit more by saying that Ali does fancy Medina as well, but just in the chapters themselves, there wasn't really much from his end.
no,
Yeah.
no. It did come off as very nonchalant and just very interesting attitude about it all. And I don't know, it makes sense for his character from what we've seen.
Hmm.
But I guess I did expect there to be more of him trying to find, his perfect wife and actually trying to make a romantic effort
Hmm.
instead of just this, I don't know who to choose. I don't really have a preference. Or
I just want a wife. Doesn't matter who it
it's like
is.
he's at the grocery store. It's like, I don't know. I can't decide. Do I want an apple? Do I want an orange? I don't really like either of them.
Yeah.
It's like, but I know I gotta eat. I don't know.
Precisely.
Uh, he, yeah, it was very interesting, and I wondered if that was kind of just a product of the culture that they're in. Like maybe that's just how men acted. But I don't know. Like surely these romantic feelings that we have nowadays can't just have suddenly appear. Like they
No,
had to
no.
have been around for centuries
Yeah,
in all sorts of cultures, not just a couple, not just the ones
absolutely.
that made books and things of that. Um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, at the end of the day, this is just a character written in in a manga. So
Yeah.
who's to say if it's accurate or not? Um, but it would be very interesting and almost befuddling if this is actually a mindset within that culture.
I wonder. I suppose it's also possible that he is just, I guess, less emotional or whatever than your average person,
Yeah,
and he doesn't show those types of feelings easily.
I guess. But he
Perhaps.
would get excited in when he was like doing hobby stuff or always keeping busy. He had those excited moments, but he didn't really get excited with this. This is just
Yeah.
like next thing I got to do. All right, get married.
Yeah.
Okay, I can check that one.
I'm getting things done.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure you have a kid named Henry. All right, we got to work on that.
Yes, that's
Uh,
important. I love that he still wants to honor Henry that way.
yeah.
It's pretty beautiful, I think.
Are you working hard on that, Medina? Like, are you gonna be able to get that on time? I gotta make sure we, get that off the list.
Little Henry is gonna have a strange name for the area.
Yeah.
But is that all on Ali?
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. Well,
Oh
the
yeah,
couple I'm rooting for. Yeah.
for sure. Then next, I'd just like to talk a little bit about Talas's mother-in-law and her ex-husband that appeared in this volume, and just kind of shout out just how nice I thought it was to finally get closure for Talas's mother-in-law. Because it's
Yeah.
something I've been wondering, or we've been wondering about this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what does she know about Talas's kind of status? And now we know that she knows, so that's lovely. And also Talas's ex-husband, he was already a great one, but also seeing
Yeah.
him open up to her mother-in-law like that was lovely. He's a solid dude, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets a good marriage as well now with his new bride.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll have a good life with her.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had been wanting a reunion with Talas and her mother-in-law for a while.
Hmm.
And if this is the best we can get, I'm perfectly fine with that. Would I want Talas and Henry to come back to the area again? I think that'd be great. Don't know what events would lead to that or why that would happen. I am thinking they would be best to stay in England because of what's happening with Russia and everything.
Yeah.
But I guess you never know. The other thing that I think kind of maybe set in stone that the reunion is just not possible is as they were leaving the wedding ceremony, the mother-in-law and her, new husband, newer husband,
Mm.
were talking about how they had to get back the dowry, the wedding price or whatever, and that if only Telos hadn't died, that wouldn't have had to happen. So I don't know. That makes it sound like yeah, she can't show her face because if he finds out
Oh yeah.
that that's not gonna be great.
There will be hell to pay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't expect him to be like murderous or anything, but I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what kind of laws they have there? You know,
Hmm.
that could
Yeah.
be not great. So anyway, I am starting to think that just is never gonna happen, and I'm pretty sure they're just gonna stay in England.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed, however, if somehow they brought the mother-in-law to England to stay with them.
Oh wow.
But I don't think that no, that's not
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Three's a crowd. That's what Hawkins said.
Yeah, he picked it up. He's like, I know. I get what's going on here. No, you don't.
uh, well, do we have any other character discussions?
I don't know. I think Hawkins, he complains of how busy he is. Oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And then, but he still goes, and
Yeah.
he's like willing to take his time. Come on, yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
go, but I mean, let's just enjoy the moment. We can't like put or you gotta be considered to loss. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think he's kind of similar to Henry's dad in that he'll say one thing, but he's a softy on the inside,
Yeah.
and Hawkins probably is more so that way.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, talks a lot of talk. Oh, you gotta do this, gotta do that, but then in reality, he's a sweet guy who will go the extra mile to help you out if needs be.
For sure. Is Hawkins a tsundere?
Yeah, I think so. He's an older brother today. He just can't help but spoil his adoptive younger brother.
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
that's it, I believe, from me.
All right, great. So that was the characters. Then let's hop into some predictions. And I want to start by talking about something that may or may not be worrisome. I guess, yeah, we'll talk about it. So, as was made evident by the fact that the horse enthusiast knew about Chubar, that seems to imply that there are, or there may be at least, some rumors spreading around the area about Talas being in the area, like a foreigner. At least that's how I read that. And I wonder if those types of rumors, I don't know, the way that Hawkins and Smith were talking about it, although that was very, very, very brief, it gave me some ominous vibes, and so I just hope that doesn't lead any shady people their way for whatever reason. Got me a little bit worried, though.
Hmm.
I'm probably gonna say that it's not gonna be anything bad because I feel like the main kind of obstacle on that side of the story right now is Henry's mother, and I feel like that's enough. So we don't need anything more.
Yeah, please no. Oh my gosh, yeah, I would hope there's no ill will that follows that household.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that'd be very sad if she became a target. But
Hmm.
I mean, as far as we know right now, people are pretty interested in her part of the world. At least her. Well, I should say they're interested in her horse that comes from that part of the world.
Yes.
that's the that's the main appeal right now. But I don't
Definitely.
know. I don't share in that fear, but thank you for bringing that to light.
Yeah, and to be clear, and as I said, like I wanted to point it out, but ultimately I think they're gonna let Henry's mother be like the main threat, so, quote unquote, on that side of the story. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
but speaking of the horses, something that could end up happening is for Talas and Henry to become horse traders with Chubar's offsprings potentially.
Yeah, seems to they will set a high price apparently.
Yeah. Although I guess that they will only be like half breeds or whatever you call them. Like they won't be like a full Central Asian horse if it breeds with a British horse.
But maybe that's good enough. It
I
seemed
mean,
like it.
it probably would be for them, yeah.
I mean, the one guy gave him his card and was said, "Please, if this thing ever has a child, or this thing, if Jabbar ever has a child, please let me
Yes.
know."
Doesn't matter if it's years from now.
Yeah, he was very insistent. So who has a child first, Jabbar or Talas?
Oh. um yeah, that's a good
will
question.
will Talas will Talas have a child? Like, I don't know.
I think so.
I would. Yeah, I mean, it would seem likely, right? I thought that when she was looking at the lambs playing in the field, I thought she was thinking about children or like maybe potentially having children. Then it
Mm.
turned the page. It's like, oh, I've just been thinking about mothers. Like, oh, well, I read that wrong.
Ah.
So
Well,
maybe not, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's got to be on her mind at some point.
I think so for sure. Whether or not we'll see it in the story, it'll happen. I feel
Oh
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's another thing. I mean, you would need a time skip in order for that to happen.
Yeah, at least 9 months.
It, if if we're gonna get Jubar and her fouls, I think
Mm.
time skip would be very nice. You know,
For sure, that would also
to show that.
require. I don't know how long for how long horses are pregnant, but um,
I have no idea.
but obviously time does pass in the story. So depending on how
True.
for how much longer it's going to be publishing, there's definitely chances for babies, horses, and humans.
Right. One of my predictions that I thought of while we were talking
Oh yeah.
is about the language barrier.
Mm.
And if they're gonna like put roots here, I think Talas being the capable person she is, I think she could learn English.
Yeah.
I think that could happen. Now maybe she'll end up picking up, the Scottish English more. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think the problem is I don't know if she can read even her in her own language,
Right. I
right?
don't think that's been established. Yeah.
So I don't know how far studying, in the traditional way will go, but I think Henry was going to help teach her words and phrases, and eventually
Mm,
she'll start picking it up. And I think that
yeah.
could lead us to some pretty uh impactful interactions with, well, the villain of this plot thread, the mother-in-law,
Yeah. Yeah,
the new
exactly.
mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Look, she's getting the full spectrum of mother-in-laws. The dreaded mother-in-law. You get the one hand, the very kind that you really get along with, you love to death, and then you get the one who you just wish could have been different.
Yup.
um,
But yeah, that's a really good prediction though, because being able to communicate ought to, I feel like, help Henry's mother kind of change her views.
yeah,
Or it should be pretty impactful at the very least. And I also think, in addition to Henry helping Talas learn English, I also think just living in that area, hearing it all around you all the time, does definitely help also.
sure,
They just got to get out of the house a little more.
yeah. Living out in the country side like they do, it makes me wonder if she is going to pick up on the
Mm.
rougher English versus
Oh, yeah.
the more high society English that the family speaks at home.
I like that.
But
Uh,
Henry speaks with that
mm,
more posh English, so I think
yeah.
it'll probably cancel out. But it would be pretty funny if she's just, I don't know what accent you call that.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably multiple different. Uh,
Yeah, there's so many different dialects around there. But
mm, but
anyway,
yeah, I would guess also, while we're on Henry and Talas, it seems pretty safe to predict a wedding pretty soon in Scotland.
yeah, yeah, I would hope so. I mean, it'd be so sad they get to Scotland and it's like, no, we don't serve your kind. Um,
Right. Oof.
that
Yeah.
would be really sad.
Mm,
But I
yeah.
mean, Henry seemed pretty confident that the Scots, for whatever cool reason, are pretty open to marrying whoever.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty safe to say. I will also pose one alternative to that, although I don't think it's particularly likely in comparison. But I just want to, I guess, get that one out there. Uh, as an alternative to it, they will, for whatever reason, turn back. Whether it's because the roads are hard to traverse, or it's because they don't want to wed them over there after all. But they'll turn back and they'll actually go back to Central Asia and get married there, because Henry's mother doesn't want them there anyway. So they'll just
Oh,
ditch England. But that's not something I necessarily think will happen, but
oh wow. So
something that did come to mind.
that's interesting. Um, because I had been thinking, yeah, that they could potentially go back, but after this volume and just kind of getting a feel for things, I was thinking, no, maybe they'd stay.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean that would definitely be the, I don't know, like
It would be sadder.
it would be sadder and not necessarily terrible. Uh, I guess just with how the state of the world, or the state of that area, it just
Uh
seems
huh.
maybe not. I guess you just don't go back to where the Russians are invading, right? You just maybe
Precisely.
stick to Ankara or I don't know, one of my way earlier predictions was that they would stay in one of the families' houses in India,
Right.
like
Right.
the house in India. And I thought maybe that would be their future, or at least potentially. But I don't know. I feel like this. Not. I'm not trying to take your thought too seriously. I'm not, like that's what you were saying. Like
Uh huh.
what you were straight out predicting. But I'm giving it. I am giving it thought.
Yeah.
And I will say that where they are right now is, I think, well enough out of the way and not on the family's property at all, that I feel like they could live there without really bringing much attention to themselves. And I guess the mother, in her stubbornness, could say, I have no second son, or however, whatever number Henry is.
Yeah, I just feel like they want to get married, and sure, maybe they will be able to get married in Scotland, and that'll be, yeah, done and complete. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if they can't,
if
fair.
they can't, if they really can't get married on the British Isles anywhere, then maybe they'll. But it feels so weird to go back to where there's war happening. Like, why would they do that? Why would they risk that? Yeah. So ultimately, no, I don't think they will.
Yeah, and I think it would be Henry's decision either way. Talas, I think she'd be fine if, yeah, like, we're not officially married. All right, well,
Hmm.
I'm gonna stick with you no matter what, and, and that's it. But
Yeah.
I think Henry wants to do it properly so bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, he pushed come to shove. Yeah, at the very least, they could leave the British Isles to find somewhere
True.
else.
Yeah, somewhere else in Europe, maybe.
Yeah,
Or as you said, maybe they'll go to Turkey or like Ankara, like some like
I mean that
closer
seems
to,
relatively safe. Yeah,
yeah. And so still much closer to where Amir and those guys are, but not in the war zone.
yeah. Not to keep talking about this, but there's also the fact that you know how much of Henry's inheritance will be intact during all the if they were to go back, would they be able to have a I don't know,
Mm,
like, would I mean I guess Talas obviously would be fine with setting down wherever, no matter um the cost, or starting from scratch, and I think Henry would be fine as well. It's just, okay, if you go back to Turkey, then I don't know if you're gonna have the nice house or the
hmm.
the pleasantries.
For sure. I guess one last thing I'll say on this, and as a point to them staying in England, is the fact that I really liked the idea of Talas learning English, and for that to
Yeah,
be kind of, or perhaps the main reason how she's going to be able to connect with Henry's mother, and
yeah,
for that to happen, they need to stay there for a while. and
yeah,
and
absolutely.
also if it would happen that way and she would learn English and she would through that connect with Henry's mother and all would be good on that side, then they have no reason to leave England anymore.
True, 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 true. Yeah, all this discussion will be made moot and unimportant if they get married in Scotland,
Yeah.
which is very likely.
Very likely. I agree. um well, the afterword implied that we'll get to see Azel and his cousins and their brides in the next volume, so
Lovey dovey.
just saying that. Um, and while I'm at it, I'll throw out my last little wish, which is not much of a prediction, but it's a wish for the future. I want to see Paria and Umar sometime soon. It's been too long.
You're right. It has been. I would like an update on them.
Hmm.
Um, has it been what, 5 volumes? More than
I
that?
don't know, but it's been too long.
Yeah. We didn't see Amir and Karluk at all this
Right.
volume.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna throw in, and maybe this is a little safer guess, but I'm gonna throw in them as well. I feel like we'll get a little bit of them.
Nice.
I mean, it could just be a couple pages in the chapter, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It would be nice to see what's going on with them.
absolutely.
But I agree with you. Or I didn't have this in my predictions, but I would love to see Putty again. Absolutely.
Mm.
One thing that I should have mentioned earlier when we were talking about her, I think the mother-in-law will eventually come around, whether it's with the English or what. But I think she will. I think that's going to be a very touching moment,
Oh
or
yeah,
at least,
Henry's mom, right?
yeah, that's what I meant.
Mm-mm.
I just said mother-in-law, right? So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
specifically
yeah.
Henry's mom.
Yes.
It could be kind of juicy if somehow she tries to persuade Talas to leave, you know,
Ooh.
on her own terms, like try to push her out, like, you don't really belong here, or things like that. That's kind of stereotypical, or a trope.
Mm.
But I don't know. I feel like that if there was more time in this story, like if we knew that this was going to be, a 30 volume story, um, that could easily be a plot thread or
Oh yeah.
some sort of interaction. But knowing that this, we could be wrapping up the story in the next few volumes, maybe 5 or so volumes, then yeah, maybe that's just not feasible. But just want to throw it
Right.
out there.
Yeah. But and yeah, I'm also hopeful that the the story with Henry's mother will have a happy ending.
Yeah, that's at the very least. I'm putting my flag there. Is
Hmm.
that it'll be a happy ending. She'll come around.
Yeah. Is that all on the predictions?
That's it.
All right. Well then, I ask you this: who was your star of this volume?
This is hard. I actually don't have it written down because I didn't know I didn't know who to choose. Um,
Would you like me to go first if you'd like to think a little on it, or
yeah, sure. That'd be great.
I picked Henry Smith as my star of this volume. I think he really got to shine really well here. It was really neat to getting to see to getting to see him in his home country and kind of interacting with his family and whatnot. And also kind of seeing him back home, but with all of the learnings that he has taken with him from his time in Central Asia, and also the fact that Ali's part of the volume also kind of emphasize how good of a guy Henry is was also in his
Yeah.
favor, I think, for this volume. So yeah, Henry Smith.
Yeah, that's good. Problem is, I like so many of these characters
Mm.
equally. I mean, I thought of Hawkins, obviously Talas, but maybe it's just the romantic in me. But I really got to give it to Medina. I think
Oh,
even though she
nice,
had just a couple chapters, she was in the volume and not very much screen time. She made a big enough impression
nice.
that I thought it was very charming. Her feelings for Ali and also very sweet. How, as we said, she didn't want to marry just because he had money. She
Hmm.
loved him and wanted that to be the factor. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know. I really like that. I would love to see more of her.
Hmm.
I probably am ruining the star name by making her the star, but
No. No. I mean,
I
it
thought
is
she,
very personal or like a subjective of a
yeah,
pick. It should be. So, yeah, no, I applaud
yeah,
you for that. Good
yeah,
pick.
yeah. But I Talas was great too. A lot of the characters were great too, but that Medina was just the one that
Yeah,
stood out to me.
definitely. And I agree that this volume did have a lot of really good characters, and the way they were depicted was excellent. And dear listener, please let us know who was your star of this volume, and what are your predictions for volume 16. And whenever book 16 is coming out, I don't know. I don't believe it's out in Japanese yet.
Oh, really?
So it
I
may
haven't
be
looked.
maybe a while. I haven't looked in a while either. Last I checked, though, volume 16 did not exist in any language. So now we are caught up to A Bright Story fully. It only took us a little over 2 years. Well, we've been covering it slowly.
Yeah, we really have. We've taken our time, uh, not because of a disinterest, but more
No.
so just have so much we're covering and uh, a lot of new volumes are coming out. So
Hmm.
it's nice. It was nice to have this to fall back on whenever we were waiting for something else to come out.
Yeah, and I feel like thanks to it taking such a long time, because I believe this is probably the longest we've ever taken to like from covering the first volume up until covering the most recent one. Um, we really got to savor this story. I feel like since we really did cover it over 2 years. It's been since we started.
It's true.
So it's been great, and I'm very excited for the last couple volumes. However many there are, there was some afterward, a few volumes back, that implied that there is not too much left, but we really can't know any details there.
Right.
But yeah, lovely. I think that's all for this time.
Yeah, I am satisfied.
Lovely. Then, if you enjoy our podcast, please share it with your friends. You'll find links to our social media in the description, and you can support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 16. Bye bye!
See you later. Squidward and Rosalina had a baby.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.